Welcome back to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll get started with our interview, but first let's hear from our podcast sponsors. We want to thank Violet Defense for their sponsorship of the Educational AD Podcast. Go to their website at violetdefense.com and find out about their great products. Violet Defense is dedicated to protecting our world from germs by bringing the power of UV disinfection to everyday spaces. Their patented technology enables them to harness the power of the sun to incorporate ultraviolet light into products and environments like never before. Whether you're ready to implement existing products, or if you'd like to explore researching and developing a custom deployment of their technology for your school, Violet Defense has the solutions and the experience you need. Once again, go to violetdefense.com for more information. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive. We have a Sideline Interactive video scoring table in our gym, and it is a fantastic product. You really need to check it out. It's becoming harder and harder to fund an athletic department these days, but Sideline Interactive's indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more every year, while also creating excitement in the gym and the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call them at 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo to see their tables and boards in action and find out exactly what these great products can do for you. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. You won't be disappointed. We also want to thank Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. Wall of Fame is on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They provide a variety of interactive touchscreen options and an extensive library of templates to make it easier than ever to recognize the athletic achievements of your school, both past and present. For ideas on how to showcase your school's diverse history, along with your proudest moments, visit vitalsignswalloffame.com. Or to learn more and get started with your own digital Wall of Fame tribute, give them a call at 614-981-3589 or email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank Huddle. At Huddle, we power sports. More than 180,000 teams, including some of the best in the world, are using Huddle to elevate the performance of their teams and their student athletes using video and analytics. Huddle's the complete platform for performance. They've got online tools, mobile and desktop apps, smart cameras, including the Huddle Focus. We've got a Huddle Focus in our gym, and our coaches just love it. Of course, there's analytics and a whole lot more. Huddle is built for every level of play, from the club and the youth levels up through high school, college, and even the professional ranks are using Huddle to make their teams better. You're in pretty good company with over 6 million users, including your student athletes, a lot of their parents, and of course the coaches at the colleges and universities that you're trying to get your kids recruited to. If you want to find out more about Huddle and how your school can become a Huddle school, go to huddle.com and talk to their professionals. Remember, Huddle, we power sports. We also want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack, as they are the name sponsor for the Athletic Director's Toolbox segment of the podcast. It's becoming a challenge to service your families, but Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack are a quick, easy, and very affordable way to collect some comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your athletic program. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack also gives you access to the 95% of the players and their parents who really love your program, and helps illustrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out their testimonials, and then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466 or email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. This type of information is so important to an athletic department's success. So I really encourage you to reach out to Athletic Surveys. Take your athletic program from good to great. We also want to say thank you to our good friends at Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider for schools and colleges. You can find out more at hometownticketing.com. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We've got a good friend on the show today, Courtney Sakellaris. Courtney is a longtime athletic director in Illinois, and she recently joined the team at Honest Game. She is a senior manager of high school success. She's going to tell you a little bit about Honest Game, but Courtney, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. And there's so many wonderful speakers that have come before me and shared all their success. So I'm excited to, I didn't really think I'm worthy of a podcast, but if Jake says so, I'm gonna follow that lead.
Oh, no, not true at all. You and I connected, a while back, as people all do now, online. But you're very curious about your product, and again, your story as a on-the-job athletic director as well. So let's go ahead and jump right in. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you went to school, and kind of how you got involved in this world of educational athletics.
Thank you for the intro, and I will try to keep it short and sweet. I know that we should hear a lot about me, but my journey to this space has been one that I'm grateful for. I had to sort of dial back when I was thinking about what I was going to navigate and talk about, but essentially I grew up right outside of Chicago in a community, Oak Park and River Forest. It's the first western suburb of the city of Chicago, so it's a really nice community. I can see the Sears Tower if I'm on a run from my house. So wonderful community, very diverse, very socioeconomically diverse. I had an opportunity to attend Oak Park River Forest High School, and there I was a student athlete. I played volleyball, field hockey, soccer, and basketball. My volleyball and basketball careers were short-lived. I think that I was, I'm all of 5'4", maybe 5'5". So I had an unbelievable high school experience. I was able to win a state championship in field hockey and come in second those junior and senior years, and similar to soccer. So just surrounded by unbelievable teachers, coaches, made a lot of lifelong friendships on those teams. I did go on and play field hockey at the University of Rhode Island. They essentially cut their program in 2006, which was very, very sad. But it was, still an unbelievable opportunity. I wasn't expecting to play field hockey in college. I was thinking I was going to play soccer, and kind of just took a different direction and was like, I think I'm going to play this sport that it's new to me. It was exciting. I had an unbelievable opportunity in that space. So from University of Rhode Island, I maintained an athletic internship in their athletic office for about 6.5 months. So through the summer after graduation, and learned a lot in that space. Was in the communications office, was doing some game day stuff for football. And it was just kind of sort of my first experience of what it's like to be on the other side and not be on the playing field. I then returned to Chicago, to the area, and began coaching at Oak Park River Forest for the coach who coached me in field hockey, which was really exciting. And then continued to coach field hockey, and also began working with USA Field Hockey and some of their regional development programs, and then also began coaching soccer again. Took on a head coaching position to sort of gain some experience. How can I rebuild this program? What does that look like? Just really sort of dove headfirst into coaching, and was really just a place that I felt like I belonged. I loved being with the athletes. I loved learning more and staying involved, and it just kind of kept me that fuel that fires you as an athlete, like game day, excitement, riding the bus, all those things were so exciting in that space. And found myself back at OPRF. was an academic tutor there, was a substitute teacher in physical education, and then had this unbelievable opportunity in 2007 to become their full-time assistant athletic director. So I remained in that space for 14 years. I now currently live in Oak Park with my husband and my 3 children, who are 11, 10, and 7. And it is kind of, my husband coached for a long time at OPRF and is a teacher in the community. Same with my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law. So, I can't say enough about high school athletics, what it does for families, what it does for kids, how sports can change a community and bring people together. That's kind of been my experience up to this point as an athletic administrator. And last summer had an opportunity that I was not planning on. Oak Park Forest had been using, we were using Honest Game, we were using their technology platform. One of my main responsibilities as the assistant AD was to navigate our academic eligibility, both weekly, semester-wise for our state association, and then obviously with NCAA eligibility. Very fortunate in that space. We were sending somewhere between 40 and 60 athletes on a year across the board, Division I, II, NAIA, Division III, junior college, a lot of student athletes going on to those opportunities. So I was navigating a lot with NCAA eligibility, and I came across Honest Game as a tool that really filled sort of a manual hole for us, and was using them from 2019 through that school year. And they presented me with an opportunity that I wasn't expecting and decided I couldn't pass up. And so here I am working with Honest Game since July. And here I am with Jake, and that's kind of where I'll end.
I always love to hear the stories because, there's always unique aspects as well as a lot of similarities about, this happened and that allowed this to happen. We're going to get into Honest Game later in the podcast, but I'm curious, talk a little bit about that transition from teacher coach to athletic director, because, we all do it. We go from being, one of the coaches, one of the gang, and now we're on the other side of the desk. So talk a little bit about that experience. How was that?
So I think, because I was young, not really young, and I'd been doing it, coaching and in that space with students, there is that transition where now you're on the other side. So I think one of my first spaces I found myself in was, I was just remembering all the things that were set up for us as coaches, specifically at Oak Park, that helped bring, successful practices, successful games, students who are feeling like they're meeting their goals and they're enjoying their experience. It was more like, okay, now I got to turn around, and how do I make that space for the coaches now? I'm not one of those coaches now. And what were some of my challenges? Like, what was the challenge at school? Sometimes it's that little tiny thing, like you feel like your day just went by so fast, you forgot to do one thing. Like, what worked down in the athletic office for you that helped you? How were you supported? And then in the student piece, something I know I'll never forget is that when you come on the administrator side, you find yourself with adults a lot more, not because you don't want to be with the kids, but there's these things you're solving that involve other adults. So I would always think about when kids get to practice, it's always, you got to remember, like, I don't know what you've been through during the day. You may have had the best day. You may have aced a test. You may have saw a friend in the hallway, or you may have had a terrible day. You may have had an altercation in school. You may have, woken up late, had a fight with mom. Like, when they came into that space as a coach, like, what did I need to remember? And so I think I always thought to myself, when my coaches come in now, I have to remember where are they coming from? They've been teaching all day. They've been planning for their classroom. They've been grading, and now they got to go plan their practice. They got to run a program. They got to be all the things you're supposed to be as a great coach. So I think that was the biggest change. I also just felt like, because I'd been coaching, it felt like I could remember those things. I forgot them some days, right? And I would be like, can you please give me the information I need from coaches or from, kids? But then I would stop myself really quickly and say, no. Remember that space. Remember how overwhelming being in season can feel sometimes, no matter how seasoned you are, no matter how a, parent email can rattle you. when you know it's not personal or something else happening there, but it can rattle you, right? Like, how can I help the coaches be the best they can be? But it was a transition, and I think you miss it. You miss being on the sidelines. Like, I missed coaching and having those special connections. So I reminded myself that it was important to always be with students as much as possible.
Yeah, it's such a great point, and it's a lesson that I share. I learned way too late in my athletic director career. Is, how can I make it easier for these coaches and enjoy coaching the way that I enjoyed coaching? Great stuff. For our listeners, we're visiting with Courtney Sakellaris. She's the senior manager for high school success with Honest Game. We're going to hear a little bit more about Honest Game when we come back. Let's take a quick break and hear from a couple of our sponsors. We want to thank Sideline Interactive for their support of the podcast. You heard me say that we have a Sideline Interactive indoor scoring table in our gym, and our coaches just love it. It is truly a great product. It's becoming harder and harder to fund an athletic department these days, but Sideline Interactive's indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more every year, while also creating excitement in the gym and the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo and see their tables and boards in action and find out exactly what these great products can do for you. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. Hey, welcome back to our visit with Courtney Sakellaris from Honest Game. Courtney, we always like to ask our guests about the mentors that they've had in their life. None of us have gotten to this point in our career on our own. So who are some of the people that helped you along the way that you really would like to give a shout out to?
There's a number. First and foremost, I had an unbelievable opportunity to play club soccer for a really nationally ranked, unbelievable soccer program. And my club coach there he was, the soccer piece was the soccer piece, but there was this other piece that he was just so transformational in how the places that we went as a team, the vision he saw for us in that space for female athletes, in the early 90s when that was a different space, right? Just in the opportunities he opened up for us, the team camps we went to, the tournaments we went to, traveling, into Europe to play. And the way that he did it, it was always about core values of who we were as people, what we were going to do, what kind of teammate we were going to be. It was almost like soccer came second. And it clearly didn't because of the talent that was on the team. But it was, very foundational for me. My experience there was something I know that I can't begin to express. Like, it's something that's still in my heart, like warms me. I see some of those teammates, I see him. It's just an unbelievable space. High school, my field hockey coach in high school, who is one of the most winningest coaches in that space in terms of field hockey for high school level, the space that our program was in as a high school program. And in Illinois, field hockey is not this big sport. It's been growing in the Midwest, right? But, I was the only teammate in my college team from the Midwest. Everyone else was from the East Coast. She was driven. She was determined. She was competitive. And I think sometimes that transformed me into, she brought out this competitiveness that she knew we all had. And I think as females, we were still a little bit, sometimes shy to express that we wanted to win. Like I would be lying if I said that was not very important to me. But she kind of that grittiness that everyone talks about right now, that discipline. I find that now, like when I don't want to wake up and meet my friend and run, I still have yet to be like, can't come. Like you just show up, you go to practice, you push, you run until you can't. Like those things that don't ever leave you as a person, she ingrained those in us. Sometimes didn't always feel great, right? And then kind of how that transformed as a coach. I felt like I could find my own coaching personality, but some of the basics of coaching, a practice plan, your season plan, How do you communicate with families? How organized do you need to be to make those things happen? She definitely laid the foundation for that. And I think I also, someone who's pretty involved in the NIAAA and state associations, Deb Ofke, who is a retired athletic director from New Trier High School. She was an unbelievable mentor for me in the athletic administrator space. I think she shared with me, she was a listening ear. She shared with me what worked. She always helped find a solution within a problem. And her, her toolbox, her talents are vast, right? So she's a coach. She can coach state championship teams in multiple sports. She can help you walk you through LTCs and the NIAAA. And then she is a confidant and a friend who just knows so much about the space, and so much about how to navigate coaches and families and athletes. And clearly the school that she was finished at New Trier does that very well. They're one of the most, successful schools in Illinois. So she was an unbelievable mentor for me.
You saw me smiling there when you mentioned Deb Ofke. She was, one of my NIAAA mentors as I came on certification several years ago. She was rotating off, but I actually assisted her and ended up succeeding her as far as the lead for the CA exam. So, oh wow, Deb Ofke, she's great. Let's talk about Honest Game. I went on your website and I've looked at the programs and the options. Really cool stuff. Tell our listeners about it and tell them why that they should have this platform at their school.
So Honest Game, and I'll talk through it as an AD that was using it. I think that my way of navigating our students' athletic academic eligibility for the college space, I'm sure is not unique. We were trying to identify student athletes as early as we could who were going to be talented, who were going to have an opportunity to participate in college athletics. Then I was taking those lists from my coaches and running transcripts with my counselors and trying to find any holes, or, sometimes holes are created by no fault of anyone. Sometimes holes are created for athletes because of their performance in the classroom. Sometimes the hole is created by a institution's class names and how kids are put in different classes due to their learning level. So I was trying to do as much as I could to be proactive in that space. And still we were navigating, what I call like fires with student athletes and their opportunities to play college athletics and accept scholarships because they're missing a credit, whether they're short something. Do we need to go to summer school? Are we taking an online class? So I found Honest Game through one of the founders of our company is from Illinois, and she was using the tool in her space. And I saw it through a friend whose student athlete was at that high school. And I'm like, what is this? Show that to me again, go back into the account. And I saw this tool that was doing what we all try to do, but in real time with verified transcripts, and was like giving kids a roadmap, okay, showing them this is how you will become an NCAA Division I, Division II qualifier. This is what happens in Division III space. This is what happens for your qualifying in NAIA. And then, oh yes, there's a junior college opportunity for you if that works, and providing a lot of information there. So to our listeners, Honest Game is a virtual compliance tool that uses verified information from your school's learning management system to share progress and updates that meet all NCAA requirements. It is unique to your school's SEEB code. Okay, we help schools update and navigate changes that need to be made in their NCAA portal, validating those courses, walking through any issues that may have arisen from a class not being in your portal, or the NCAA asking for additional information. It's visual, kids can see it, they know where they stand right now. So Jake right now is getting offers from a school, and he's in that 2.0, 2.3. It'll show him right now, what do you need to do this semester? What is your plan of action? Where are you going to stand with your GPA, and are you going to be able to qualify? It's in real time with all the NCAA COVID waivers. Any changes they're going to make in that space are real time inside the app. So it is a tool that I think, educates counselors, educates athletic directors. It really changes how comfortable you're going to feel in knowing those spaces. So, NLI signing day is this week. A lot of our schools are checking kids right away, like making sure they're in a space that they're not missing anything. I had a number of red file alarms at my high school, again, by no fault of anyone's. And I think had we had the tool back then, we would have had solutions faster, more proactive, and most importantly, drives academic success. We have some success stories that we've shared as a company of how kids have seen, this was my GPA 6 months ago, here's my GPA now, and oh, by the way, I'm going on to college, and I am going to use my success as a student, I'm going to use my natural ability as an athlete, and I'm going to go on and receive a college education. And that may not have been a space they thought they were in. It also just gives that kind of, there's so many opportunities now in 2021 for kids to use athletics to pursue academics, to use athletics to push themselves into a space that they can create, a life for themselves with a college degree. Some kids are going to take that junior college path. I love that our tool shows that, that space is not like taboo. You haven't done anything wrong. There's a lot of opportunity there. NAIA Division III, there's so many competitive programs. And just to be frank, there's so many athletes with so much ability now, right? So there's just this world that can be opened up to kids that we want to make sure they can see and that they know is there.
No, absolutely. Again, anything that can make that AD's job easier during the day, it's just one more tool. We'll do this at the end of the podcast, but if one of our listeners wants to reach out and pick your brain a little bit, or even go to the Honest Game website, how do they do that? Go ahead and give out that information if you don't mind.
Sure. So our website is pretty simple. It's just honestgame.com. And then my email is CSAKELLARIS@honestgame.com. And, we're able to share with you a demo. We can walk you through all the tools that we have. We can talk to you about pricing, whatever that might look like. I love my side of where I'm at now is we have a wonderful sales team that walks through that. And then I get to sort of onboard athletic directors and counselors and provide education and share how we use the tool, what we can do to help you get this in the space of your families, and how we can continue to work with your school to make sure you're compliant and on board. And again, really easy. Technology can be your friend when you want to be friends with it, always. So just, that tool will make everything a little bit easier for everyone.
Absolutely. And again, for our listeners, Courtney speaks to you representing Honest Game, but she also used it as an athletic director. So a real good testimonial. We are listening and visiting with Courtney Sakellaris. She's the senior manager for high school success for Honest Game, along with being a longtime high school athletic director. We're going to be back with some more, but let's take another quick break and hear from one of our sponsors. We also want to thank Wall of Fame by Vital Signs for sponsoring the podcast. Wall of Fame by Vital Signs has a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They provide a variety of interactive touchscreen options, along with an extensive library of templates to make it easier than ever to recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. For ideas on how to showcase your school's diverse history, along with your proudest moments, visit vitalsignswalloffame.com. Or to learn more and get started with your own digital Wall of Fame tribute, give them a call at 614-981-3589 or email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. We are back with Courtney Sakellaris from Honest Game. Courtney, this is usually the time that we share best practices. So I'm going to put you on the spot here. What are some of the really key features that you'd like to share with our listeners about Honest Game?
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I know that you're both listening and maybe viewing. So I kind of want to walk you through the tool, and I'm going to walk through the tool both visually and with your ears here. And we're going to take Jake back and put him in as his athletic director seat. So as an athletic director, when you log into our tool, you're going to see your dashboard. You're going to see essentially some nice analytics about your student athletes. You're going to see their average NCAA GPA. You're going to see their eligibility status. You're going to see how many kids are activated and using the tool on their own. We're going to sort those kids by division and their eligibility. We're going to sort by Division I for NCAA and Division II for NCAA, and then for NAIA. Those are our three spaces that are requiring those academic requirements. So I also am going to visually see, as an athletic director, I'm going to see my teams. So if I pop onto my girls basketball team right now, and I'm going to look at one student in particular that I know is getting close to potentially picking a school. I'm going to click on that student, and I'm going to be able to see where she's at. So right now, I see at the top student's name, email address, and right away I see her status for Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, and JUCO. We're using those color coding. So red means stop, there's an issue. Okay, yellow means near, you're getting close, and green means go, you're in a good space. Division III and junior college are clearly obviously going to be green for kids, for most all kids, because there is no requirement in those spaces, which provides some good motivation. For Division I, I can toggle between all these spaces and see, okay, so my student athlete is yellow right now for Division I. Why is that? Going to tell me right away, GPA is not up to standards. This year, the student is a senior, so there is no test score required due to COVID. And credits complete, student athlete's not on track. Visually, for those who you will be seeing this in person with your eyes, but you're able to walk through each area of the requirement for NCAA. So I can see core course requirements, where the student stands with their 16 NCAA units. I'm going to see individualized eligibility summary and recommendations. I'm going to see a sliding scale that if I am meeting with a student athlete and their family, or one of my coaches is, and they're asking like, what is the problem? Where am I at? I can toggle that GPA with test scores to see what we need to be doing and what our goal is. Okay, again, a nice short summary, where I'm at, am I a qualifier? What's my status? Future projections. So for that student, telling he or her, what do I need to be doing this semester? Okay, where does my GPA need to go? Core course requirements. This is particularly helpful for athletic directors who are working with their counselors to navigate schedules. The student is short on approved credits, and in order to satisfy, we need them to take the following courses: 3 English, 6 elective, whatever that looks like. I need to get that sorted out and worked with my counseling department. Last but not least, we're always going to have a space for each individual student for additional comments. Maybe we're waiting on your current schedule to upload. Maybe you have a course in your school's NCAA portal that needs some attention. It's not in there. It's not approved. We work with your school directly to navigate next steps for that. The nice part about this, inside visually being able to show students this, is you can download this plan, share it with coaches via in the college space or the club space. You can share it with families and parents to just provide as an AD, like, here's where we're at. I met with your student. We are proactively talking through some next steps. That's just a quick snapshot of what that looks like. And if you're seeing it or hearing it, if you're interested to see it in person, we'll be at the NIAAA conference in December in Denver. We'd love to see you at the booth. We've got some nice giveaways for some Nike gift cards, and I think a basketball rebounder. I'm not confirmed on that, but hopefully. So visit us. We'll walk you through the tool. We'll show you what that looks like. And again, there is no input for athletic directors or coaches. This information in our app is safe and secure and comes directly from your school's learning management system. Thanks, Jake.
And that was going to be my question is how does that academic information get inputted? So it's a straight upload from the schools, each school's information management system, correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Very cool stuff. And again, Courtney and her team are going to be at the NADC in Denver. I'm certainly going to be there, learning more about this program. Sounds really cool. We're going to take another break, and then we're going to come back and continue our visit with Courtney Sakellaris from Honest Game. We want to say thank you to Huddle for their support of the podcast. At Huddle, we power sports. More than 180,000 teams, including the best in the world, are using Huddle to elevate the performance of their teams and their student athletes with video and analytics. Huddle's the complete performance platform. They have online tools, mobile and desktop apps, smart cameras, including the Huddle Focus. We've got a Huddle Focus in our gym, and our volleyball and basketball coaches just love it. Of course, there's analytics and a whole lot more. Huddle's built for every level of play, starting with the club and the youth levels up through high school, college, and even professional teams are using Huddle to help them get better. You're in pretty good company with over 6 million users, including your student athletes, a lot of their parents, and of course, the coaches of the college and university teams that you're trying to get to recruit your kids. If you want to learn more about Huddle and how your school can become a Huddle school, go to their website at huddle.com and talk to their professionals. Remember, Huddle, we power sports. Welcome back to the podcast. Courtney, now's the time where we ask our guests about this idea of social awareness. How can an athletic director do a better job for their kids, their coaches, their community? How can they do a better job of being socially aware for their school?
A great question, complicated question, right? I think that most of the time in that space, that high school education space, especially the athletic space, we're navigating. This isn't volunteer coaching. This isn't parent coaching. This is adults who have played sometimes at a very high level. This is athletic directors who've competed at a high level or coached at a high level, have had success winning, whether it's in teams in their school or previous experience. And so I think it's hard to sometimes not remember what worked for us. Like when I was an athlete, this is what motivated me. When I was, and it's important to know and be aware of where kids are at now. And it's easy and quick to say like, well, that's not what my generation did, or this is, and it's not to your fault of doing that. It's a natural thing to happen. It's remembering like skills that worked for, you and I as soccer players or basketball players, and games, that the evolution of sport changes. Basic skills stay the same, but nowadays we can look at a 8-year-old and they might have the foot skills of what used to be the average 14-year-old. So, and that can be viewed negatively or positively. And once you come into a frame where it's to try to be like, what is positive about the change? I think you become more socially aware of what your coaches need, what your athletes need, and even personally, maybe what you need. Being a coach, being an athlete, and sometimes I think we're all accustomed to it. It's a grind, and we're attracted to the grind, like the season grind. Like nothing feels better than practicing for football for X days to play on Friday night. Like that's the thrill. Or, playing a 35 game softball, baseball season. So when we remember the ups and downs of that and how kids and coaches can fall in that space where they're really feeling overwhelmed, they're navigating, a situation in an academic classroom that's not working for them. They're navigating something at home that's not working. We can definitely find our space back into that center of what works. Is it balance? Is it empathy? Is it also sometimes realizing like, hey, today was a tough day for you and I understand that, but I need you to show up for 2 hours and then we'll talk through what's next for you. Or, how that looks when a kid can't get to school on time and it's impacting their eligibility because it's impacting their grades. What is actually your responsibility? How can I help you meet it? And what's next? And so I think when we do that and we don't dial back to a place where like, well, no one's allowed to be late, or you're not allowed to do that. I never was allowed to do that. So in finding that space where it's like, we're not giving in to the, what could be called like laziness or greed or anything that's happening in that space where we think it's different. Is no, kids are still working really hard. Kids are still really competitive. And it's how you're presenting the material to get the most out of them, whether that's your coaches or your athletes or your families or your parents. What space can we create that is fulfilling the needs of everybody? So, I mean, I think Jake, you and I could talk about this for a good period of time, but I think it's recognizing how you can be helpful, not how you can serve what you think is right, but what can help those around you and how can you bring that up? Sports changes communities. We could dial into a bunch of different communities and schools where they've had a championship program that changed the trajectory of the school and the students and the athletes, right? So we know that sports is transformational. Don't forget that part. That's what I always think is really great to think about all the time. Don't forget what it's doing every day to your life. So I'll kind of end with that.
No, I really think you got to the essence of it is, coaching and being an AD, it's about helping kids and helping them get better. And so, being aware of what's going on in their lives, being open to what's going on and trying to help them get better. That's what our job is. Great stuff. Okay. We are visiting with Courtney Sakellaris from Honest Game. We're going to be back in just a minute and find out what Courtney is going to put in her athletic director toolbox. She was a longtime AD before she went to work for Honest Game. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack for sponsoring the athletic director toolbox segment. Please stay with us. And like I said, we'll find out what's going in Courtney's toolbox when we come back. Once again, we want to thank Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack for sponsoring the Athletic Director's Toolbox segment of our podcast. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect some comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your athletic program. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack also gives you access to the 95% of the players and the parents who really love your program. And it helps demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out their testimonials, and then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466, or you can email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. Let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Welcome back, everyone. Well, Courtney, like I said, we connected a couple of months ago on another webinar, and it's been really cool to listen to you today, but we're not done yet. We always like to wrap up with what we call the athletic director's toolbox. We've already established that you're a longtime veteran of the athletic director wars, and now you're with Honest Game. But right now, I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job. But I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. What 3 items are going to go in Courtney's athletic director toolbox?
That's a tough question, but okay, we'll try. First and foremost is a set of unbelievable listening ears. You have to be able to listen, hear the problem, hear the complaint, hear the good, hear the bad, and sort of navigate. It's not about you. It's not personal. Nothing is an attack. It may feel that way sometimes, whether it's a coach or a parent or counselor or teacher. It's about hearing and listening all the way through before you figure out how we can, figure out a solution, or maybe there isn't a solution. So just listening to hear all the spaces that person or people may be in. And I think I actually learned that in an LTC about de-escalating conflict. Honestly, I took that course and it changed how I viewed it, because part of that is just taking yourself out of the equation. just removing yourself and hearing the problem and knowing that you might not always have a solution. And that's kind of hard for most AD personas to have. Second, I would say to enjoy the moment. I mean, there are some moments that are small and big. I could tell you a bunch right now from our park, and they overshadow any personal athletic moment I've ever had. It's watching a team win a state championship, watching a team sometimes lose a really hard game, and knowing you can be there for your kids and families and what may be next for them. Watching a team, sort of rebuild with a new coach, taking in those really small moments when you see something happen in an individual or with a group of people. Again, I feel very lucky in that space I was at Oak Park River Forest in terms of the success that our coaches and athletes had. And so I have so many of those moments in my bank that that fill me up. So enjoy the moment and those bad ones too. Sometimes you got to live in that for a minute to realize, what can I learn? How can I get better? I see how I didn't handle that well. I'm not going to shamelessly plug Honest Game as my last tool. It did, I think, in the space that I was in, specific to my high school, transform a process that we were using. And I think because I was so lucky and saw so many student athletes bring college athletics to a place they never thought they would be, whether that was a first generation college student, someone that was their achievement. Like, I will be a college athlete. That is what my goal is, and I'm going to achieve it. So I would throw Honest Game in there shamelessly again as a tool. I think it's really helpful. But last, my fourth or third would be surround yourself with coaches and good staff, people that are on the same page with you, agree with your school, know what your mission is. You can't always choose that for yourself, but you can definitely find those unbelievable people who work games for you, who are at the scorers table, who take tickets. Those relationships build up the foundation of your department. So no big, no small. Your head football coach is going to be as important sometimes as your ticket workers or your announcer at your football game. All those relationships are so important. Your relationship with your groundskeeper. So building strong personal relationships in your school is going to take your job into a space that you enjoy and that's fulfilling. And then you have people that are there for you on those rough days. So those are my tools. I went one over, but I think that's okay.
That's okay. And it's not a shameless plug. It's actually a requirement of our podcast that you promote, your product while you're on here. Great stuff. And again, all those tools are just fantastic. You know what it takes to be successful. Courtney, again, if one of our listeners wants to reach out and pick your brain, and I certainly encourage you to do so, what's your email? How can they get a hold of you? And how can they also find out more about Honest Game?
Well, our website, our email address, my email address is CSakellaris@honestgame.com. Our website is honestgame.com. You're going to find a lot of different, we have a really informational blog up there. And we like to know that our stuff is based around academics and education and how that kind of goes into a recruiting process for athletes. So there's a lot of information up on our website. We're happy to walk you through a demo if you're interested to see what this would look like in your space. And as I mentioned earlier, we will be at the NIAAA. So we'd love to see you and meet you and just, even chit chat quickly and throw yourself in our giveaway, but, see what it looks like and what this would be in person for your student athletes and for your families and coaches and counselors at your high school.
Courtney Sakellaris, Honest Game. Thanks so much for being on the podcast today.
Oh, Jake, thank you so much. I've learned so much from listening to everyone that's been on, and for you to take the time to continue to share about this really important job in the world of athletics and how people can do it better and lean on each other is amazing. So thank you for bringing me into your space.
Oh, well, thank you for those kind words. Very much appreciate it. For listeners, remember the Zoom recordings of these interviews are being uploaded to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening today. Come back again next time for another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. Before we go, we want to thank our good friends at Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. You can learn more at hometownticketing.com and tune in every other Wednesday as Jessica Upchurch presents What's Up with Upchurch, secrets and cool ideas for hometown ticketing users. Thanks again for listening to the Educational AD Podcast.